Welcome back to the Piece of Us podcast.
I took the breath too. Could you hear me?
Oh, did you take the breath?
Welcome back to Piece of Us podcast.
Go ahead. You can
beat me
host
to
today's
it.
episode. I
I can
love
host?
it. Yeah,
Really?
do it.
Always wanted to host. Sorry.
I don't think
got a
you
little
can see your
excited.
dancing. He's dancing for those of you who can't see us.
So welcome back to Piece of Us podcast. Today we have an awesome episode. I'm super excited to talk about this. And yeah, I am joined by Miss Crystal, my beautiful wife.
Hello, everyone.
We're also joined by beautiful Hannah,
Hi, guys.
our daughter, and our handsome son, the debonair Alex.
Oh, I thank you.
I'm excited. We haven't had this dynamic on the Piece of Us podcast yet. I was really excited to have Hannah on here too because she hasn't been on yet.
Yeah, I haven't been
It's her
on,
first
so.
time. So, yay. All right, what are we talking about, Aaron?
Okay, so I don't know if you guys saw it, but on BYU TV, we had a little reality show drop called Survivalist. I don't know why I changed my voice. That sounded so weird, I'm sure. I'm sorry. So we did a reality TV show. We filmed it last, what was it, April?
Yeah,
April.
almost
It was
a year
like a year ago.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
crazy. Because I was 19.
Right?
Now I'm almost 21.
Right?
It's like,
Crazy.
So we filmed a little reality show called Survivalist. We are on season 3, episode 7, if I recall.
Yeah.
So if you go on to byutv.com or if you pick up the BYU channel on your cable, I'm sure that episode's
watch it
replaying and you can set it up to record. But
We want to talk about the reality of being on a reality show. Like
yes,
the good, the bad, what were the behind the scenes? What does it really feel like to be on a reality show?
yes,
So I'm excited to talk about this because I feel like when I watched the episode back, I was really surprised on how much got cut.
I
a
was
lot.
Like
Yeah.
a lot. There was so much, which I totally understand. I totally get because basically we were out there for 4 days and they were filming pretty much from, I don't know, 7 in the
Day till
morning
night,
till
yeah.
9 or 10 at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Constantly, and we were mic'd pretty much all day. And so to take all of that and to put it down to a 1-hour episode, plus share it with another family. So basically like a half an hour of footage from a 4-day trip. I totally understand why a lot of it was cut. And yeah, I love that. But
Let's start at the beginning.
let's start at the beginning.
So even before the trip, because this was an interesting trip. So we found out we were going to be on the show, and
Well, let's start before then. How do you even go on a reality show? Like, how did it even come about?
Okay. So we received, I believe it was an email,
Yes.
and basically saying that they were looking for show participants for
Survivalist.
Survivalist. And so we watched a bunch of the previous seasons and saw like, oh, this would be cool and kind of what we were getting into. And so then we had to send in an email first, just saying that we wanted to. And from that, we get a little link. And didn't we upload
They
some
sent
footage?
they sent us a link to do an application.
Yes.
And so from there, we filled out a whole application. I want to say I didn't go and watch previous episodes a
I
lot.
didn't either. I didn't know what
watched
to
one.
expect.
You watched one. So Alex watched
saw
one. Hannah didn't watch
I didn't
any.
watch, no.
So you didn't know what you were getting into?
No, I just kind of thought it was going to be easy. I was just like, whatever. I was like, yeah.
Like, yeah, this will be fun. So we submitted an application. We actually weren't sure which kids were going to be coming with us.
It's true.
And they wrote back that that we made it to first round of interviews. Basically, they wanted to do some Zoom interviews with the producer, and so we went, and they had individually did actually a couple of the other kids, and then
Yeah.
they brought Alex and Hannah and Ariana did it together.
Yeah.
I wasn't even really an option. You just said that you had an extra kid or something. I was there.
Oh, so when we were doing all the interviews and they were kind of trying to figure out, the dynamics and what that would look like if we were to go on the show, they were like, "Do you have any older kids or any kids that are going through anything at the time?" And I'm like, "Well, Alex just moved out." And so that dynamic or family dynamics kind of changed. And they're like, "Hey, can he come in here and do the interview right now?" So Alex didn't even know he was going to be
Yeah.
pulled in for the interview
Yeah.
that day.
I just knew they were interviewing, and then mom's like, they want you. I'm like, okay. I wasn't supposed to be a part of this, but okay.
Yeah. So we did the interviews. What was the next step? So then we made it to second interviews. We
made it
did
to second
one of all
interviews.
together.
Yeah, all of us together.
All of us together.
That's right.
They wanted pictures sent in, all of that kind of stuff. This was back in, or no, we submitted the original application, I think around August, September. And then it wasn't until February, Marchish that we started doing interviews. Or no, it was January or February. Because it was right when Alex was getting ready to move out. Hannah still had her bright red hair.
No, but
Yeah.
yeah. Well, in my interviews, like I had regular hair, and then I had changed my hair in February, and then
Okay.
yeah,
So
So-
we must have done them in January
Yeah.
then, the interviews.
yeah.
So from there, we got an official email that said, "Yes, we've chosen your family to come onto the show." We were all so excited.
We started like working out.
Yeah, we started working
Remember,
out
we
because we're
started,
like,
trying to get into shape and just like
So they were filming, I think they had selected that they were doing 10 episodes at that point, and we found out that we were one of 28 families.
I don't remember how many
that
families.
had
There was
been
a lot of
selected.
families.
So each episode, there's two families basically versing each other, but they had also some alternates in case when it came time to actually film, they would, if somebody couldn't make it or passports couldn't go through because it was taking place in Mexico. So we got the confirmation that we were one of those 28 families. And then over the next couple of weeks, we started getting more and more emails. But then the crazy part happens. So we found out we were going to be on episode 7, and we were supposed to film. So they were filming all in Cabo, Mexico. And they were
Baja, Mexico.
Baja, Mexico. And they had different locations around, the peninsula that they were filming at. And we weren't supposed to actually be filmed till I think the 8th week that they were filming.
oh yeah.
Yes. So we weren't supposed to film until almost towards the end of the season.
Yes.
And yeah, this was kind of the little behind the scenes, a little bit crazy, is all of a sudden they called us, the producer called us, and it was on, I think, a Friday he called us. And he said, "Hey, is there any way you can be on a plane to Mexico tomorrow?"
Sunday.
Yeah.
I think it was Sunday.
No, it was tomorrow. It was the
No,
next
it was
day.
Saturday. You're
It
right.
was the next day.
Yeah.
I thought mom was
And
joking.
I was in California for like a birthday trip / like trip with my biological sister, and then mom called me and was like, "You need to come home," and I was like, "Why? Like I'm all the way in like California. I can't just like come home." Like I was like, "Why?" And she was like, "Well, they want us to film the show tomorrow." I was like, "Don't prank me." I was like, "Stop." I was like, "That's not funny." And she's like, "No, I'm being serious. Like I'm booking you a flight home tonight." And I was like, I don't know. I was just like, what the heck?
And then the next morning we flew
And
out
then
to Mexico.
that night I flew home, and then I had to repack when I got home, and then we flew to Mexico the next
Yeah.
day.
So Hannah was actually with her biological sister,
Yeah.
in California. She wasn't even with us. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no. I was like, yeah, we can come. I'm kind of thankful though, because if we would have waited a few more weeks, so we weren't supposed to go for like 5 more weeks
Yeah.
later. And if we would have done that, I think it would have been even hotter though and harder. So I was kind of thankful
yeah.
timing wise.
The temperature probably would have been 15 degrees hotter
Yeah.
than what it was.
And it would have been even that
That
much
would have
harder.
been miserable.
Yeah. So it was kind of like a quick trip. The other hard part is because they did send us a compass ahead of time. And I was excited to like practice because none of us, we are not your outdoors family. We are not a
all.
camping family. Like we just don't really do stuff like that. And so when they sent us the compass, I'm like, let's go to a park. Let's, test it out and all of that. And we did not get time to do that because
It
we
wasn't
just
just a
got
compass
sent.
that they sent us. They sent us also flint and steel.
I know.
We were supposed to practice starting.
We were
a
like,
fire
okay,
on
we're
our
gonna
own.
we're gonna
We
practice,
probably
we're
should've
gonna
done
practice,
that.
but we never ended up.
We never ended up getting
We
to
kept
practice.
talking about it, like, hey, let's go practice. But
Yeah.
then something would come up, and
And
like,
we
oh, we
never.
got time. We got like 5-6 weeks. We will have plenty of time. Nope.
Nope.
Okay, so keep in mind, I used to be a Boy Scout, so I was used to camping and everything. But I never started a fire with flint and steel, okay? I always use sticks and rocks, never flint and steel though. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we head out to Mexico, and that was our first time that any of us had been
Yeah.
to Mexico. So that was exciting. The airport was a little bit scary. They were
That
like,
was so funny.
don't talk to anybody. Just walk straight and go to the people in the orange shirts. And so we're walking through the airport, and I see some people in orange shirts. And so I start talking to them, and they at this point were like, well, let me show you this vacation package and blah, 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 blah. And then,
We're like, we're not here for.
yeah, we're not here for vacation. And then Aaron was like, you're not supposed to talk to people, Crystal. And I'm like, they were in orange shirts, but it was different people in orange shirts. So I didn't realize that.
And then the hard part was they all spoke Spanish and they kept asking like transportation and we're like, yeah, we're supposed to like have a car. And like they kept asking and they brought us to a table to like sign papers. We're like, wait a minute. Hold on. That's not right.
Yeah. So we kept walking straight like we were supposed to, and we found our car
Finally.
and our transportation. Everyone was so incredibly nice. And I felt like so in a little behind the scenes of this. So you have a producer with you the whole time. You have a mic person that's like doing your mic and making sure that's on. And we did have a medic with us the entire time,
Yeah.
which really made me feel comfortable and
Our
safe.
medic was awesome.
As safe as you
guys
can be
remember
out
his
in the
name?
desert.
Ben.
Ben.
Yeah, it was
We
That's
love you,
right.
Ben. He was the best.
Miss you, Ben.
We loved him. Yeah. So from there, we went to our hotel for a couple nights while they were getting everything prepared and all of that.
We found
Eventually,
churros.
we had churros. Tell them about the churros.
Mom is obsessed with churros. And those were the only things she was looking forward to the entire trip. When we're on the trail and everything, she's like, I can't wait to be done so I can have churros. That was it.
Well, it's
Before,
because we found like a little truck next to our hotel, so we like walked down there one night, like just like seeing what they had, and then turns out that they like are so good, the best churros like ever. And then
I literally crave those churros still to this day.
we haven't found ones better than that.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
they're so good.
That was a really cool. So this truck, so our hotel was fairly close to the ocean. We had like a shopping center near us, and then as we're walking to the shopping center, because we left so early, we were missing stuff. So we're like, oh, we didn't get this. We need to run and try to find this, and this, and so we were walking to the store. And that was a really cool thing to walk through. And there was this huge park, and it had this full soccer field in it. Do you remember that?
yeah.
It was
That
so
was
cool.
awesome. And so, this truck would like pull up on the side and just set up, and they're the best churros ever. They also had elote, which Ariana and I loved as well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it was incredible. So then finally the day comes that we are headed out to the desert and we get out
long
there.
drive.
It's a long
to the middle of
drive.
nowhere.
It was really, I was scared. I was so scared.
too.
I don't think it really hit me what like we got ourselves into or signed up for until we were on that drive.
Yeah.
And then I started feeling like, wait, what are we doing? Wait, we're going to be out there without, and we weren't allowed to bring our cell phones.
Oh yeah.
So we were completely unplugged from the world, which was really stressful and hard. And I know like some people are like, no, it's good. And I know it's good. And it was a good experience to not have your cell phone. But I felt like it was scary for us just because we had kids at home. And I'm like, what if Aurora has a seizure? What if something happens and I won't even know about it for 4 days? I mean, we had people watching our kids that we trust and that were really good and all of that. And so it's okay, but it was just really
as a
nerve-wracking,
parent,
I
yeah,
guess.
having to worry about that, it was tough.
Yeah.
As a
that part's-
teenager, it was pretty tough.
Did you struggle, Alex?
Not really, no.
Didn't you set somebody to do your
I
snap
did.
score?
I had someone do my streaks every day
I had Savannah do the
and
same
respond to all my like important stuff.
Yeah. She didn't want to lose her streaks on Snapchat. That was very important
Yeah.
to her.
and I didn't. So
That's good. So you're the person did the job.
she did.
That's good.
And he. They both
So once we get out there, and we get to meet everybody, and they're kind of explaining a little bit. I mean, they didn't really go into detail on stuff. It was kind of just like, here's a map and compass. Good luck. What was going
Literally,
through
it
your
was-
guys' heads on that part?
I was nervous for you guys. Mostly mom, because this isn't something she really did. So, but she did great. I was just curious about the whole map and compass thing, because I've used a compass before, but I'm not like the best with it. And then maps just confused me, so I was like, this is gonna be fun. And then Dad and I have camped before, so but I thought the other three were gonna struggle. But they
Hannah
did
and
great.
I like didn't even. I wait. When we got out there, I just was like looking around and I was like, well, there's really nothing. Like, I was like, I really have to go pee out here. I was like, and I have to sleep out here. And I was like, and I have to live out here for like 4 days. And then also I thought about how heavy my bag was. And I was like, I have to carry that for 4 days. And
Yeah,
yeah,
The bags were the worst.
that was,
The packs were heavy.
yeah.
Hannah and I may have snuck a little bit of makeup into
Oh,
our
I
pack.
did. I had to wear sunscreen, guys, on my face.
Yeah, we had sunscreen and I had lip gloss.
Oh, and I can't
chapstick.
handle dry lips. Like, I just can't. So I had chapstick.
So besides that, we didn't have any other makeup.
Towards
We
like
just
the
had a
last
few
day,
things.
though, I didn't even care at that point. I was just ready to go. But
So one thing that didn't make it on the show, that I was a little like, oh, because I thought it was a really cool part of the show, you know what I mean, in general, is they did have us go through challenges.
Yeah.
And the first challenge that they had us do, what was
Yeah.
that, Alex?
It was fire making. I had to use the flint and steel to
That
make
first
fire,
night.
and it did not work out. I didn't. Again, we didn't practice with it. I didn't really know how to use it. I've only used like sticks and like trees and dry bushes around me to like make fires, or lighter sometimes when we would cheat.
Lighter.
But never flint and steel, and so I couldn't get it to light. It was terrible. I was sad.
Yeah, so he did not complete the first challenge,
It's okay, though.
but
I
the other
learned.
team didn't either. So it was kind of this
Yeah.
like even, it's okay. It didn't really hurt either team. The next challenge that next day that they had us do was picking out the paw prints to all the animals.
yeah.
And that was the first challenge that Hannah and Alex really worked together on. And how did you
destroyed
guys
it.
do?
They did awesome.
Yeah, we
we
destroyed
did,
it.
yeah, I think we missed like one.
I think it was one.
I
Yeah.
think it was one. But yeah, I didn't even know I knew my animals that well.
I know, I was so impressed.
I don't know. I was impressed with myself. And yeah.
Yeah. I think the one we missed was like some sort of bird. We like mixed up the two birds because they looked the same. But that was it. Other than that, it was sick.
I was really impressed at that point. So, well, going back to the first day really quick, as we were going through, we were struggling to read our map. And
The
we
first day, I think we were all struggling too with like hydration and just like
Yes.
everything the first day. But I think as like we went on, we got better. But
One of my favorite moments that first day is when we were hiking and we were exhausted because basically you're walking through a riverbed, and so your feet in that
Like,
sand plus the
remembering, like-
backpack plus the everything on
plus
top
your
of
heavy
it
boots,
is
like
so hard.
As you take a step, your foot sinks a little bit, and you're trying to pull it out before you can make your next step. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
And it's
Hannah was
hot.
really dehydrated.
yeah. The first day, I definitely didn't listen when everyone was like, drink water, drink water. So like within like maybe like 15 minutes, like even in, I was like already like I was struggling like really bad, and like I like don't usually struggle with like that kind of stuff, and so I kind of felt like weak in a way in
Yeah.
the beginning, and then Alex and Mom like took my bag for a little bit, which they didn't show.
That was
Yeah,
such a sweet moment.
that was my
But-
favorite part of that show is when Hannah was struggling really bad and we were all struggling and Alex and I looked at each other and Alex was like, let's go help her. And I was like, yeah, for sure. And we go back there and Alex takes Hannah's backpack off of her back and he holds one strap and I hold the other side and we
just
start
marched.
going and we just march on and we just keep going and hiking and it was really, really hard, but it was also a really, really sweet moment. And I could tell that it helped Hannah a lot.
Yeah, because at that point, then I was able to like get like hydrated. I took like electrolytes, and then like by the end of it, like I don't know. I like really appreciated it.
Those things were Hannah's fuel, dude. The electrolytes like shot her back to life, dude. She was going. She was going, dude. It was crazy. It was like it was like a heal for her. She took one sip and she rocketed through the whole canyon.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was one of my favorite parts.
That was
I guess on the, I don't know. Well, there were several
the
favorite parts
first
on it,
day.
but the first day, yeah. And then the second day,
You can't skip the part about the dark.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Walking in the dark was crazy.
bushes
And
hitting you.
it
Yeah.
doesn't come through on the show, but we were literally, so there was these sharp plants and we're like hiking through it. And so we had flashlights, if I recall.
we had
We had
headlamps.
We had headlamps.
Yeah.
But there was a photographer that was with us, and he had no light whatsoever.
Oh yeah.
So he was literally on my heels, and I was like having to turn around and like make sure that this guy makes it through the thing. He fell so bad and like scratched his arms. His arms are like bleeding like crazy. It was nuts. Some of this stuff, I'm like, why did you cut it? Like, that's the best part.
I felt
Yeah.
bad because I freaked out, but our medic Ben, like they had to go set up for the shots. He like took off, and I was terrified. I was like, dude, if we lose him, we're screwed. Like I don't know where I'm
Because
going.
we're out here in the dark, which is
Yeah,
us.
it was
Yeah.
dark. The trails were rocky, like we were climbing up rocks and then climbing down rocks. So I'm like, if we lose him, we're camping here tonight.
I was just scared
It's on
of
the
like
side
an
of the hill.
animal coming out at me. Like
Yeah,
that.
scared
I
of
was even like
animals coming
scared of
out.
like I don't know. I was just scared of the animals.
I was scared of like snakes and scorpions and like I mean you're in a desert and that's a thing and I don't know if I ever really like thought about it, but in a reality show, there are camera people and there are like producers or different people like around, but they're not supposed to get involved and like
Yeah.
help you with things necessarily. And so unless you get hurt or that kind of thing, obviously they make sure you're safe. But it was like things that I wanted to be like, wait, like can you when we were climbing up the big mountain
Oh, yeah.
and I'm like reaching at one of the guys, I'm
That
like,
was
"Help
the
me
first
up,"
day.
He
you
just
know?
looked at
And they
you.
just look at you with the camera and they don't like because they're not allowed to and I totally get the rules and all of that and I was like what but it was a good thing in the end because then it makes you reach and rely on our family to help you up that mountain and help pull each other and I will say at the top of the mountain, which they did cut, I was upset. I think that was my first time that I was like, wait, really, what did we get ourselves into? Because we're scared of like, we had those big backpacks on and we're climbing up this huge mountain and
I think
you're
they said in the show it
afraid.
was 45 degrees.
45 degrees and we were so scared to fall down this mountain.
Because the
and I was
backpack,
like,
it like pulls you like back.
Yeah.
Like at least me. Like I feel like my backpack almost weighed as much as me.
yeah,
like-
I think it
It
did.
was so scary because so normally like when you're in the desert you're thinking, "Oh, it's just dirt." Well, there was like this fine layer of like gravel all over the ground. And so as you're climbing and you're putting your foot down, these little gravel pieces are just giving way.
Crumbling.
And then so
Yeah.
your foot starts to slip and then you're like trying to compensate with something else and then you grab onto this cactus and it lets go and it's like
That scared me. I think Dad did that. He went to grab onto a bush to help Ariana, and it gave way, and we had to like grab his backpack because he almost
Yeah.
fell, dude. It was
It was
scary.
It was like you have to focus. Just
Yeah.
like it's like only like right foot placing and just
Yeah.
like
Right. And so we get to the top of the mountain and I just needed a minute. Like you know when you just like almost die and you just need a minute? Like I may be a little dramatic on that, but when I got to the top and then they're like, "How was that?" and they're trying to talk to you and you're like, and I literally looked at the cameraman. I was like, "Give me a minute." Like, give me a minute. And then I went over and I just started crying because I was like, "What did I sign our family up for? Why did I ever do that application?" I was just thinking in my mind, like, can we even do this? Because our family had never been through something like that before, and then I got it together. It took me a minute. But at the end of the day, in that moment, I was like, I just don't want anything to happen to anybody. Like, I didn't want any of you guys to get hurt or like something to happen. And so I think I was freaking out inside, but I was like trying to stay calm and like the strong one. But I was like, I was a mess inside.
I think a lot of it came back to, so when we were doing the interview process, one of the interview questions was like, what's your worst fear? And we were all freaked out to tell them our worst fear because you always know these reality TV shows, they're going to put you in an element where you don't want to be.
Your worst fear.
Your
They
worst
like made up
fear.
fears that I didn't even know I had.
Right.
So I remember sitting around the campfire that first night and we were like, oh my gosh, what fears did we tell them and what are we going to do tomorrow?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that was all the first day.
That was day one.
That was day one.
Day one.
Day two was just a lot of hiking. Like it was a lot.
And rode Razors Day too, right?
we
The
rode
morning.
the razors, which
In the
was my
morning.
favorite part.
Yeah.
And as we're hiking, it feels like as we were following this map, and at this point, okay, this surprised me too, is I thought Aaron would be the one with the map and the compass the entire time. I have no sense of direction. I have zero. I get lost in a hotel room. I can never find my room after I leave it. And Aaron's always, that's kind of been his superpower. And surprisingly enough, what happened?
I was terrible at it. I didn't do it. I tried. The first day I got us lost for like 10, 15 minutes and I was like, I can't do this. I'm not doing well with it. So I passed it along to others that I thought would do better. And Crystal nailed it.
I was like, Hannah and Ariana said, do not.
I don't know where
Guys,
you
map,
I
you
didn't
can't do
touch
it.
the map or the compass once the whole time.
I don't know where you found your sense of direction.
I
Actually,
know.
Dad did good on the compass part. The compass he understood.
Yeah, we would line it up with the
Yeah,
map.
the compass he
I
understood.
could find
Alex-
north, no problem.
Alex did really good at like reassuring. Like he would look at the map and look at the compass, and he's like, "Mom, you need to make sure you have it lined this way," and I would line that way, and then all of a sudden, I just got a sense of direction somehow. I don't know how it happened in the middle of a desert, but I felt like I was like, "I got this." Like we got this. But that second day, it felt like every turn, everything, it was just more and more and
But
more.
yeah, I think we were also just tired though, because if you camp, like who actually ever gets like a good night's rest
Rest when,
when you're camping?
That
Like,
is so
true.
true.
like
So true.
so yeah, and sleep has a lot to do with like your emotions and your like energy and just like everything.
For
So.
sure.
So the second day, you'll see on the show, I got pretty upset. But here's the reason why. First of all, I didn't listen before we even came on the show, and we had all gotten a bunch of new camping gear and everything. I had these pair of old boots that I thought still fit me, but they were too big. And so I had to deal with them the entire time, and my foot was like sliding. It was uncomfortable, so that made me pretty moody. The second thing was we started the second day off so good, like the razors, and then we did like a challenge before that. And then the rest of the day was just all hiking. And it just felt never ending. It was hot, and the trails didn't make sense, and I'm like, dude, we're not getting anywhere. Like the distance between maps was like so long that it just, I don't know. It felt endless, so I was pretty grumpy. I'm not gonna lie. So I did get upset, and I was like, this is.
We all took our turns again.
We all took our
I
turns
don't think
getting.
I actually ever got upset.
I don't think you ever got upset. You just got really quiet on
She
the
wouldn't
last
talk.
day,
Yeah,
and
she
you
wouldn't-
just didn't.
Yeah, I didn't really want to participate anymore.
Enough.
But I felt like, okay, so that second day we were walking. And I think when you look at a map and then you're doing it in person, it's like, how far is 1,500 feet or 1,500 meters or whatever you're walking? And you're like, it felt like longer on, yeah. But when we got onto the beach was one of my favorite parts.
Wait, we
of the
rode
second day.
horses.
Oh, the horses.
The horses,
Horses was
yeah.
the second day.
And the razors and
Horses
like
was
oh
second
my
day.
gosh.
Beach was third day.
No, we ended on the beach the second day.
Yeah,
And then
Oh,
we
yeah,
rode the
yeah.
horses
Yeah.
to the beach.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's crazy to me, so we heard, so as we're going through and we're filming this, they would put us on what are called production holds. And when was her name Crystal?
Yeah.
Mom.
Yes.
Yeah.
When she fell off the horse,
Oh my gosh.
like
I
they
feel
they
for
described
her.
it to us, like
Yeah.
one of the other contestants, they fell off their horse. It's pretty bad. We're really worried about them. We're putting you on a production hold while we figure out what's going medically with her. And we just had no idea. But I watched it on the show.
She fell
hit
hard.
hard.
She
Yeah.
fell.
That
I
thing
hope-
threw her
I
off.
hope she is okay, because man, I was
She is. We talked afterwards, and she did have a little bit of a headache, but she was good. And I felt like it just was a scary moment. Her horse started running.
But yeah, it,
And I was
booked
like,
it.
oh
Booked it.
my gosh.
I didn't watch. I
The-
haven't
the
watched.
worst-
You haven't
show
watched
yet.
that part
No.
yet?
the worst part is like we didn't know where they were at that point because what?
Should we have started this episode with spoiler alert? Maybe we shouldn't tell them the ending. If they haven't watched the show yet.
that's true.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Sorry.
Go watch.
Oh yeah. But yeah, the thing about the whole horse incident, like it was peaceful for us and like we did fine and then
It was so needed in the moment.
yeah,
because
and then we hear that like after all that hiking and then she like gets thrown off and it's like, dude, all that work just to like get injured and like we're in the middle of nowhere. We don't know where they are. We don't know if like they're halfway like to camp and like it was just scary because it's like, dude, they could be like 5 miles from camp and they have to deal with an injury or something. Like it was just
And I think that it was playing into one of my worst fears was that something was going to happen to somebody.
yeah.
And I think that I started again, like I just started playing in my mind. And I think, so from here on out, we won't give any spoilers. We're so sorry. So we won't give the ending away or anything, but we just want to talk about like our experience with different parts of it. And with that, when we found out that she had gotten hurt and all of that, there was just so much of like us just like, okay, let's pray, let's hope that she's okay, let's, all of that. So
And while there are medics, I want to point out that we are like in the middle of a desert. There's no hospitals around.
right.
And so if she
Yeah.
got hurt too bad, it's like, are they going to have to, air evac her? What's going to go or what's going to happen? So the fear of getting hurt out there was very scary,
One of the other elements too, like moving on from that a little bit, was that they couldn't tell you anything. And so we didn't know how far ahead we were. We didn't know really anything. And our maps were different. So we were going different.
We were on a different trail
different
than they were on.
trails.
Yeah.
So we don't know, are you ahead? Are you not ahead? And I think that was an element on the show that they wanted was it wasn't like, oh, I could see they're ahead of me. Let me start running. Like it was like, we didn't know where they were compared to where we were and things. So yeah.
I will say that I'm super happy some of the stuff got cut because right before we started getting on the horses, I had my flip out. I was so upset and I was yelling and cursing and it was so funny, but obviously I didn't think,
so funny.
I didn't think it
That
was funny,
not
but
funny.
I'm super glad that got cut. I'm just gonna
It
say
wasn't
that.
towards us though. I would
It
say as
wasn't-
like a family, we weren't fighting. Like we did really
We really didn't
well.
fight at all. Any of us.
Yeah,
was mad at the
working through
rocks.
Things.
I was mad
He
at
was
the
very
rocks.
mad at the rocks.
I yelled at those rocks. They knew how I felt.
There were some major rocks we had to climb.
So that day we ended at the beach. I
That
don't
was
want to give
nice.
spoilers, but
I
gotta
know.
walk through it in order
Well, the
to.
beach was incredible. I feel like
Camping on the
poor-
beach sucked.
Yes.
it was
Yeah.
windy.
That was the worst.
Dude, I felt so bad because Dad trying to sleep the whole time. All he heard was the wind going, and he was,
was
mad,
so
dude. He was like,
windy
"Why?
on that beach.
Why?"
Oh my gosh.
And I have to say, so out of all those deserts and like everywhere we had hiked, we didn't really see a lot of like
Water.
snakes or different, I was gonna say bugs or different things. I mean, there were obviously some, but then we're on the beach and it's night and we had just where we were
Making
getting ready to be
ramen.
unmiked. And there's a scorpion right by my foot, and I scream so loud. And I just look over and I see the mic guy go, like he just cringed, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like there was a scorpion. It was so scary. But that was the first scorpion that we had seen.
Was that the only one?
What?
I think that was the
We saw
only
a
one.
couple that day at that campsite.
Really?
but-
I didn't see any.
I didn't
Yeah.
see any.
Yeah. So the other challenge that we did was an eating challenge.
Dude.
And this one was Hannah and Ariana. And we walked up and there was these tables and they had cow tongue, they had flowers, they had
Like moldy corn.
moldy corn stuff.
Weird
they-
stuff.
Oh my gosh, all this crazy stuff.
Which
And
turns
so
out the moldy corn is like a delicacy somewhere. I don't know.
I didn't know
I
that.
thought the moldy corn was some sort of bug. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I thought
I didn't know it was
like
corn.
a moth.
It looked awkward.
Yeah, I didn't
Looked
know it
like
was
a
corn.
moth.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought
So
it was
this
like
part-
a dead moth. I was
yeah.
like, oh.
And it didn't make it in the show, this part of the challenge, but Hannah and Ariana had to do that challenge together. And basically, they had to choose if something was poisonous and they couldn't eat it or if they could eat it. And if they could eat it, they had to actually eat it. And how did you guys do?
We got all of them right.
They got every single one
destroyed it.
right.
Yeah.
They killed it.
I don't even know how I did like good on the challenges because I don't like those were some foods I've like never even like seen. So
Yeah.
because like the
guys
cow tongue, I like was like I was hesitant, but then we ended up getting it right. But
So Hannah ended up eating the flowers. Ariana ended up eating cow
no,
tongue.
I really didn't want to eat that, and I was like trying to show like, oh, like I'll eat it, and she was like, no, it's okay. She's like, I'll eat it. I was like, okay.
I won't argue with
I
that.
didn't really want to eat it, but yeah, she ended up eating cow tongue, and I don't remember what else.
I
But
don't remember what else was there, but it was a lot. But it was, and I felt like those, like that third day as we were all really working together, as I felt like those were the really special moments on that
Yeah.
show. And I feel like that's kind of what the show, like while you're trying to survive and you're in the desert and you're going through all of this, what is the point of being out there? And I feel like at that point, it was like with Alex moving out, having that dynamic change in our house of him not being around 24/7 and having breakfast and having dinner with us and
Yeah.
all of that, I felt like we were kind of working through like, okay, our family looks and feels differently, but do we still have that same bond that we did when everyone was younger? And I felt like in those moments is where we really learned that we do. Okay, what would you guys say your biggest takeaway from the show was? Your biggest positive takeaway.
For me, it was just seeing like everyone in their own light. Like, cause I didn't really get to see how Dad did on the trails, cause I was supposed to camp with him one time, but he got injured, so
When
it
we
got
went to
cut.
Philmont.
Yeah, so it got cut short. And so like I was like, I really did want to wonder like how he'd do on the trails. And so I got to see Dad do it, and I got to see all the girls do it. It was just fun to see like everyone like do their thing on the trail. For me, it was just seeing everyone and like become more comfortable with it as the days went on.
I'd say like the biggest takeaway for me was like knowing that like I actually could do that, cause like I don't think I've ever like pushed myself like hard enough, or even all of you guys, like all like knowing that all of us like did that like towards like when we got to like the hill, the end, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess it gave me like more like confidence, or like more like now when I say like I can't do something, like I just think back to like I literally hiked like that much. Like
You can do anything.
I can run 10 minutes on the treadmill. Like Hannah, like I don't know. Yeah.
What was yours, Aaron?
Mine was I took a lot away from the show. I was in probably the best shape I've ever been in my life. But when Alex and I went to the Philmont Scout Camp, I had gotten injured because I didn't know and understand how to pack my pack. And so it was weighing on my shoulders weird, and I ended up getting like a shoulder injury. And so I stepped out, and then it took too long for me to heal, so I couldn't finish it with him. So number one, this allowed me to kind of get out of what I hoped I would get at Philmont Scout Camp. I was able to get that with Alex. So number one, I was able to have that camp out experience, the long hikes, and not just him, with Hannah and Ariana as well. I was super impressed. I didn't think Hannah or Ariana would. When I found out how far we were going to be trekking, I was like, there's no way. I don't even think I can do this. I've been working out for months. I'm in the best shape of my life. But I learned that I can actually do more than I think my body can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I truly found some of my limits when it came to that trip. And so that was probably my biggest takeaway. I just want to get back to that physical point that I was at or better because I've kind of slacked a little bit the last couple months, but
Yeah. I think for me, there was so much I learned from that. So I feel like I did a lot of reflecting on just like, how do I even explain it? Okay, so growing up, I grew up with a single mom, and my mom was very strong willed and very much we can do anything. And, our air conditioner, we had like, an air conditioner that was on top of our roof, and she was like, hey, our air conditioning broke today, we got to go up there and we got to fix it, and so I was climbing on the roof at 10 years old, like trying to fix an air conditioner. And I feel like I went through all these different things as a kid, and my mom was just always like, if something needed to be done, we did it. And growing into adulthood with that, why I have a really great work ethic, I feel like a lot of times I'm like, have to be in control, and I have to like, okay, if this needs to be done, I'm going to do it. If, a kid needs help with this, I'm going to do it. And I feel like I was so like that part. And I feel like I did really, really well in the first couple days. And then that third day hit and I hit my breaking point. And I was at a point where like, it was probably a good point. So I did break my mic that I was mic'd with on the show at one point in the ocean. The little paddleboard hit me. That part got cut too, because we all got wiped out. But so anyways, I wasn't mic'd for a second, and I was like, I'm not mic'd, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, I can't take another step. I can't, like, I was at a point where I just couldn't move any further. And Alex comes back and he looks over at me and he gave me like the best hug. And that part's on the show, and he's like giving me this hug. And then he's like, Mom, we got this. Like, we can do this. And it was a point where I feel like I've always been Alex's rock growing up. And it turned to him being my rock in that moment. And I felt like it was just such a special time. And then Hannah's like, yeah, we can do this. And she's like trekking out front. And I feel like I'm like, where were you guys the first 2 days? All of a sudden, they were like, we got this. And I'm like, we're done. Like, we've been doing this for, but it was so special to see. And it was so an eye-opening experience for me to know that I can rely on the other people around me, that I don't always have to be that strong one. And it's okay to have those weak moments and have those moments when you need to rely on somebody else. And that was my hugest takeaway, I think, on the whole thing. And Aaron was so sweet. We had to carry an extra tent thing, and that wouldn't fit into any of our bags. And so he kept taking turns with me with it and just helping out when he knew I was struggling on different parts. And so I feel like the working together as a family and just really coming together to like overcome when each of us hit our breaking points on different days at different times. Thank goodness we didn't hit it all in the same time at the same day, because it would have been game over for all of us. But I feel like each of us had different limits on different parts, and so for everyone else to step up and help that person when the other person was at their limit. And I feel like we did really well working as a family for when those moments happened. And so I loved that part of it. And then I loved just the overall, at the end of the day, we were all there for each other and that we all made it together. And we all crossed that finish line together. And I feel like that was such a sweet moment. Mm-hmm. So, yes. All right. Does anyone else have anything that they want to add that they feel like people would want to know about a reality show? I will say it's different than YouTube, for sure.
Yeah.
I will say YouTube, and it was kind of one of the hard things for me is YouTube is like, we're very flexible with our stuff. And if a kid's in a bad mood or we don't feel like filming that day, or someone's like, hey, I want to go do my own thing or whatnot, like we're very open about that kind of stuff. And we just talk about it and we don't film that day, or we, do different things. And so it's like, when you're on a show, though, and you have that commitment, like, you don't get that choice.
Those cameras were always
They
going.
were rolling whether we, like, felt like it or not. And I remember at one point, they took us down, and it was, like, I see snake tracks everywhere. And they tell us that's where we're going to be camping. And I was like, this is a snake pit. We're not camping right here. Like, can we go over there and camp? And they were like, oh, this is where we're supposed to be setting up. And they did let us move our tents over. I will say the show and the production and everybody a part of it was incredible and really workable and sweetest people.
Once we finished, here's a cool thing. So once we finished on the last day, as we were getting in the vans to head back to our hotel, one of the guys came to us and we were talking about the snake pit and everything. And he's like, yeah, I was the one that removed it. And so he showed us a video on his phone of him. He grabs this huge tree branch, probably like 25 feet long, and he's all picking up the snake and like running and setting it in another area. And we were like, that was where our tent was.
That was where you were having
It was crazy. So
so
the
that
production was really cool about that. So.
Yeah, they were really cool. I don't know. So, but I felt like you always just had cameras around and it was just kind of a different environment than YouTube for sure. It's just kind of a different thing. But yeah, we got used to it after a couple days, but it was just, yeah. Some days I was like, I don't know.
It was
I
hard.
just need a minute.
Because when we're sitting there, like, trying to take a break and, like, discuss, and, like, there's, like, times where you just want to, like, talk in private, and you just, like, want it to be your business, but nope, there were always cameras, and you're like, dude, come on.
Yeah, we had to
I'm
wait
just
till we
eating
got
it.
unmiked at night. I was
Yeah,
like,
I'm
are
like-
you mic'd? And he's like, and Dad would be like, no. I'm like, okay. Oh my gosh. And I'd be like, but I think I forgot I was mic'd a few times when I said stuff.
I was mic'd the whole time, so
Yeah.
I couldn't really say.
Except for at night. They got
Yeah,
mic'd us
yeah, they
every
did.
night, but
It was an awesome
right.
experience. I will have to say, like, I would love to do it again or try it again.
I would like to find like another like series or another thing that we could go on and like I would go at it a little bit differently. I don't know. I just like, oh,
Maybe
we
if
should
we
have
could
done
do
this
somewhere
or that.
other than a
or-
desert.
Yeah, maybe not.
It's
Fair
rather
enough.
cold.
We could do like the Amazing Race through like Europe
That
or
would be
something.
so cool.
That could be really
It would
cool.
be amazing. So I would love to do it again. I feel like, I don't know, reality shows is kind of fun. It was really fun and interesting to do. And it was cool to see the behind the scenes stuff when we were on it. So compared to YouTube and that kind of thing. But maybe not through the desert for 4 days. So
And yeah.
would you guys ever do something like that again?
Yeah, I think it was sick.
No,
No?
no,
If there's camping involved, you're out.
I'm out.
Was it just the camping part of it?
I don't know.
Like if you had to do like
just-
backpacking through Europe, like would
That'd
you
be
do
sick.
something like that?
No,
No?
I just don't think that was my thing. I just think I don't know. I don't know.
Hannah's a glamper.
It's just not her thing. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us on the Piece of Us podcast. And
If you haven't already, go check out Survivalist Season 3, Episode 7. It's the Pettits versus the White family. And yeah, we won't tell you how it ends because you got to go watch it. But
yeah. Yes. And hats off to the White family. They were incredible and such sweet
They were
people.
nice.
We loved
They were so
them.
nice.
Yes. All right. We will catch you guys next time.
all right, you
Peace.
guys, peace.
Oh, peace. You guys say peace.
We say peace at
Oh,
the end.
Okay, say peace.